Day 16, Sleeping Bear Dunes. So that's actually a national lake shore on the shores of Lake Michigan. And the local legend talks about a mother bear and two cubs that set out swimming from the Wisconsin side of the lake towards the Michigan one in search for food during great hunger. And not far from the shore, the two cubs drowned, becoming what is now called the Manitou Islands. And the mother made it to shore and lay down to be able to see her cubs and became a huge sand dune. And the dunes are huge. The one that I climbed is over 450 feet tall, and once you make it to the top, you realize that's not all, and there are more and more dunes behind it. And it was pretty hot, and I was totally not prepared for the climb and for the heat, and I didn't even have any water with me, so I realized there's no way I can make it over the dunes into the lake. But it was just very nice walking around and enjoying the views towards Lake Michigan and back in the other direction towards Lake Glen. And the sand was perfect. It was hot, but not too hot. And once I made it back down to my car, which was also not trivial, I had a great time by the beach in the little town of Glen Arbor. And there I had a redeeming experience after what I had on Lake Michigan the day before in Indiana. The lake was gently lapping and the water is crystal clear. It was just a wonderful atmosphere, so I took my dip and I found some cool rocks. And then I continued on, actually a little bit back south towards Manistee National Forest, where I made plans to camp with Casey, who I met on a Facebook group for boondockers. And Casey is a veteran hiker and RVer and traveler who's been all over the country with his adorable dog, Biggie. And he gave me tons of tips about things to do and places to visit. And we had a great time at the campfire in the evening. And as an added bonus, we also got to watch the Perseid meteor shower. Day 17, Hartwick Pines. So as great as camping in the forest was, but the road calls. And my next stop was further north on the Michigan Peninsula, a place called Hartwick Pines. Because of its car industry, Michigan is known as the state that put the world on wheels. But before that, Michigan's pine trees were the ones that built America. And it was the descendants of Michigan's lumber barons that founded Cadillac and General Motors and financed Henry Ford. So by the beginning of the 20th century, 95% of Michigan's original forests were gone. And whatever was left behind, tree stumps and small branches and pine needles, fed enormous wildfires that swept through all of the great. So all these endless forests of Michigan that we see today are actually a very successful restoration project. So Hartwick Pines is one of the very few surviving pieces of the original pine forest. And the reason it made it so far is because of a map error that showed it as being underwater. So Karen Hartwick, the heiress of the original owners, bought this plot of land from her family company and 2 days later donated it to the state of Michigan. And her donation was in memory of her husband, killed fighting in World War I in Europe, and it came with conditions. Nothing in the forest can be touched. If the tree gets a blight, the blight stays until the tree falls. And when the tree falls, the stump stays on the forest floor and rots. So this is what it looked like a couple of hundred years ago. And it has this magic atmosphere, and smack in the middle of the forest, there is a little chapel called the Chapel of the Woods. And it's an amazing place to just come in and meditate. Leaving Hartwick Pines and continuing on north towards the Makinec Bridge that connects the lower Michigan Peninsula to the upper Michigan Peninsula. And it's actually the longest suspension bridge in the Western Hemisphere. So you drive it at sunset with Lake Huron on the right and Lake Superior on the left. And you just get more and more excited about other things lying ahead.